This next section that we're going to cover here is Chapter 2, Section 4. And this is going to cover multiplying and dividing integers. Now, one thing that is important, since we just covered the first few sections here of Chapter 2, where we talked about adding and subtracting them, the rules for multiplying and dividing integers and sign numbers in general is pretty different. And it's very important for you to basically compartmentalize the information and kind of put a barrier in your brain, perhaps, and just understand that uh, they're not the same rules. They're pretty different from each other. They're pretty distinct, and um, what we kind of do for multiplying and dividing is just far different. Just keep that in mind because the rules are not so much the same, right? But it is a lot easier though. It is an easier process to work this through. You're not thinking as much about absolute value and whether you should add or subtract them. And we're just thinking, obviously we're doing the multiplication and division, but it becomes pretty straightforward as to whether it's a positive or a negative. Okay. So let's start off here. Let's section 4. So when multiplying or dividing sign numbers, integers, or whatever, with different signs. All right, let me um, where one is positive, one is negative, and the order in which they occur is really does not matter at all, but the result will be always negative. Now, it's also good to keep in mind that these rules that I'm talking about right here, these only have to do with two numbers, like, so if we're multiplying a negative and, a positive integer times a negative integer, something like that. We're talking about two numbers, or if I'm dividing a negative by a positive. It's a little bit different when you start adding in numbers, but when you're multiplying and dividing, you can really only do two numbers at a time anyway. You're not really going to multiply all five numbers at once in your head. Um, so yeah, so multiplying and dividing, if the signs are different, it's always negative. It has nothing to do, none whatsoever on the absolute value. Absolute values does not matter. All right. When multiplying or dividing integers or sign numbers with the same sign, the result will always be positive. Right? A negative times a negative is a positive. You probably heard that before. You probably have at least that in your head. Sometimes a lot of math we forget about, but I bet you that's one thing you do remember, that a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, so right here in this first example, we've got -9 times -2. Well, that is positive 18, right? Absolute value, don't even worry about it. Do we have to add them or subtract them? No, we're just multiplying them and we're just thinking about what the signs are. All right, number 2, that's a positive. One of them's a negative. It's going to be negative. All right, let's get that out of the way right now. And 63 divided by 7 is 9. So it's -9. Right here, 7 times 6, that's 42. All right, this is right here. This is a division problem. A negative divided by negative is a positive. And 48 divided by 6 is 8. All right, and then right here, looks like the signs didn't show up. I put the shit, for whatever reason, my formatting got weird. But there should be a multiplication sign separating all those integers. And so this is what I was talking about. So when you're dealing with more than one number, you just take it two at a time here. So let's kind of do this. So you got right here -3 times 5. -3 times 5, that is -15. -15. Here, and I'm going to do this. Why don't we do it this way too? Multiply this. Now, negative times a negative, that's a positive, right? So 2 times 4 is 8. That's positive 8. So what you have there is -15 times 8. -15 times 8 is going to be negative, all right, 120. So -120. All right, you might have also learned it, while we're on this problem, you might as well talk about it. You might have learned also, like, if you sometimes, if you count how many negatives are in the multiplication problem. We have an odd number of negatives. If there's an odd number of negatives, it's going to come out to be negative. All right. If we have a positive, or not, it's not positive, sorry. If we have an even number of negatives, it's going to come out positive because every two negatives makes a positive, right? So like right here, it doesn't matter how you look at it, like right here, those make a positive, and this one is leftover negative right here, right? Or you can think of right here, those two are negative. I'm focusing on these right here. Those are negative, and you have a leftover negative here that leaves a negative. Okay. All right, and we could do the same. We could do that on this one right here, which makes it a lot easier. So that we can just count how many negatives are in there. Don't even worry about the positives. Let's count how many negatives are in the problem. So we can count, right? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 negatives. So that's, if you think about it, we have 3 pairs, right? We have 3 pairs. Like this pair, that makes a positive. This pair, oops, I'm using the eraser. That pair right there, that makes a positive. Right here, that pair, that makes a positive. All right, so you got, that's a positive, that's a positive. So we know that this product, is going to come out positive when we're all done with it. Okay, so now we can just worry about the arithmetic here. So let's do this. I like to break it up if we can. Let's do 3 at a time. We might as well. So 2 times 1 times 1, that's 2. Right here. 2 times 2 times 1, that's 4. And then this is 10. And remember, I'm not even thinking about the signs anymore. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 10 is 80. And we already knew it was positive, right? I was just working on the math right there. All right. In number 7, you bought a baseball card for $30. You found out it was worth more and then sold it back to the owner for $40. You then bought it back for $60 the next week and sold it for $100. The new owner didn't think it was worth that much and he sold it back to you for $90. After all these shady transactions, maybe that's the word I added in there. Did you make a profit or did you make a loss? All right, so how much? All right, so now this isn't necessarily a multiplication. I think this is more addition, subtraction. But now just think of it like this. So if you bought something, if you're buying something, I know like you might be thinking you're getting something, you might think of that as a positive, but think of your bank account. Think of what's happening to the balance of, or just think about how much money is in your wallet. But in general, think about your balance. If you're buying something, that's a negative, right? That's overall, that's subtracting money from what you have, right? If you sell something, people are giving you money, right? Someone is giving you money. You're adding cash into your balance or into your wallet, your pocket, what have you. So think of it that way. So that's, I think, an important distinction you need to make in these kind of problems is just understanding what's what. So you bought a baseball card for $30, and then you found out it was worth more and sold it back to the owner for $40. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, and then you bought it back for 60. So I'm going to write plus negative 60. And the next week you quickly sold it for 100. So plus 100. All right, the new owner didn't think it was worth that much and he sold it back to you for 90. So that's going to be a negative because you're buying it. And then and so after all these shady transactions, yeah, because it's a lot of back and forth here on the same card. Okay, but let's just kind of go through this and see how it all comes out. Like right here, negative 30 plus 40, that makes 10, doesn't it? That makes positive 10. I'm going to break this up a little bit. All right, negative 60 plus 100, that makes 40, because you want to subtract them. Just think of that as 100 minus 60. And positives win, right? So I'm going to think of it as positive 40. So 10 plus 40 plus negative 90. All right, and then we're going to let's just do this left to right. Well, 10 plus 40 is 50. That's 50 plus the negative 90. I'm just kind of bringing that down over here. And that is going to come out to negative 40. So that is not a profit. That's a loss. You made a loss of $40. Okay. You probably should have not done that last transaction, getting, right there, that did you in, because that you could have just walked away at the point when you made $100. That was good, but no, you had to get greedy. But maybe this person's not done with all their cells. Anyhow, that's it for this section.